On June 10, The Quarry was released. This is an interactive movie from Supermassive Games, where gamers have to play as camp leaders and face a terrible paranormal. But did the developers manage to create something suitable? We will talk about this in this video. Thank you for watching the RTV Gaming channel, and let's get started. 7 years have passed since the release of the magnificent Until Dawn. During this time, the developers from Supermassive Games have not managed to approach the level of Sony exclusive. Considering the scale of the game, the choice and consequences system seems to be the most impressive so far. The writers were inspired by Category B horror, but still came up with a cool multi-layered plot with a lot of dramatic episodes. Even the picture is not outdated. In general, you can praise Live Until Dawn for a long time. Alas, subsequent studio projects always lacked something. Man of Medan upset the slurred story. Little Hope was intriguing, but the characters were annoying too often, and the ending was controversial. House of Ashes forced me to wander through the caves all the time and tired me with an unoriginal superficial plot. Of course, these games were fun to play, they perfectly coped with the role of a pleasant adventure for a couple of evenings. It's just that gamers were waiting for something more. The announcement of The Quarry surprised many. The developers were working on a new part of the anthology The Dark Pictures, but suddenly announced that another game is about to be released that will not become part of The Dark Pictures. What to expect from the novelty? Wouldn't it be a hastily made hack? Well, The Quarry is full of shortcomings. It is clear that Supermassive did not have enough time to polish the game. A couple of patches will definitely not hurt it. However, the disadvantages do not prevent the new product from jumping the entire anthology of The Dark Pictures. The game still falls short of Until Dawn, but the developers are as close as possible to their main hit. So, what is the plot of the game about? Hackett Quarry Summer Camp is a magical place. Dense forest, beautiful lake, picturesque landscapes, cozy houses. It is not surprising that children like to go there so much. The counselors are also happy with everything. They took care of the children for 2 months, earned some good money, and are ready to return to the bosom of civilization. Alas, the teenagers sent the pupils home, but they themselves could not leave the camp in time. The trouble with the car was to blame. As a result, they are forced to stay in the wilderness for one more night. The problem is that breaking the timings in Hackett Quarry is not worth it. The teenagers do not listen to the worried boss, who in a panic tells them to lock themselves in the house and not stick out, and throw a party around the fire. High-grade drinks, scary stories, night swimming and passionate kisses. Only some devilry immediately begins to interfere with the fun. From all sides comes a terrible female voice. Something terrible is running through the bushes. The creature does not look like a boar or a bear. Plus, the area is patrolled by strange hunters who look menacing and behave strangely. In general, it will be difficult to survive Until Dawn. In general, the plot is cool, but there are enough problems in it. Let's start with the fact that passions are heating up too slowly. The prologue throws in a couple of amusing scenes, but then the gamer will have to wait a long time until the screenwriter catches up with suspense and arranges the necessary pieces on the chessboard. However, when the plot is completed, and the story picks up pace, it will not be easy to break away from The Quarry. The bleak start is exacerbated by caricatured characters. A bitchy fit girl, an insecure artist, a muscular macho, a closed lover of urban legends, a gay joker, and so on. There are no problems with the images themselves, but they present the characters as ridiculously as possible. Dumb jokes, dancing and chatter about cereal every now and then make you feel Spanish shame. Plus, the characters behave like traditional horror characters. They regularly split up, argue over trifles, sort things out when a monster runs around somewhere nearby, and do other game. However, if the actions of teenagers can be attributed to age, then it is even worse with adults. Even characters who sincerely worry about the fate of the counselors, as if on purpose, do everything so that they quickly go to the forefathers. Such inadequacy does not allow you to fully feel the atmosphere and immerse yourself in the story with your head. However, claims to the plot are easy to justify. The developers were clearly inspired by the old B-category horrors, where the stupid actions of the heroes are a feature, not a bug. And in general, the whole script seems to be written off from an old horror movie, the same framing, recognizable scenery, characteristic techniques. Sometimes the heroes even mention the source, referring to the terrible episodes from The Evil Dead and other films. If you like the horror of the last century, you will definitely enjoy the plot. However, gamers who prefer modern films should also pay attention to the project. The first chapters can be confusing with the absurdity of what is happening, but then the story begins to get involved great, throwing up dramatic episodes, dynamic fights and difficult choices. Variability is fine too. Of course, the developers drag the heroes along the rails, and the key decisions, without which the story will fall apart, are made by themselves. However, it depends on the gamer who will be in the trolley, what condition the survivors will be in, and whether they will get to the end. Again, the most important characters will come to a climax no matter what you do. There is an option to ruin their lives, but not kill them. However, other playable characters die easily, sometimes one bad decision leads to disaster. As a result, there is nothing easier than dragging a couple of wounded cripples to the final. It is curious that the consequences of even minor decisions often shoot out. It would seem that in the first chapter the guys decided on a harmless prank. Who would have thought that in the second half of the game one of the characters would be in an unpleasant situation because of this? From variability, one should not expect revelations of the level of Suitable Detroit, Become Human, but it is still entertaining to understand the cause and effect relationship. The authors were cunning when they talked about 186 unique endings. In fact, most of them differ only in small things. However, this does not negate the fact that everything is in order with variability in the Quarry. The Quarry has retained the same gameplay foundation. As in the previous games of the company, the characters roam the locations, look for clues, make decisions and check the reaction in QTE episodes. This time the creation of supermassive games has become even more cinematic. The game has enough gameplay, but the number of contemplative episodes has increased. At the same time, you don't have to break your fingers to pass reaction tests. If Until Dawn or House of Ashes forced you to quickly press a variety of buttons, then in the Quarry it's enough to slowly move the stick in the right direction and hammer one button at a time. Of the other entertainment, the need to hide and shoot. Everything is clear with the shooting. It has not changed since the days of Live Until Dawn. We point the gun at the target and pull the trigger, or do not press if there is no need. But for games of hide and seek, you no longer need to hold the gamepad motionless or press the buttons. In the Quarry, you can simply press the desired key and release it when the danger has passed. As you can see, supermassive games did not just add a mode without gameplay to the novelty. There is an option to take your hands off the keyboard and treat the game like a series for 8 hours. At the same time, it will not be boring. However, wandering through the dark forest, creepy cottages and crumbling caves is more interesting on its own. Especially in this case, you can find tarot cards that replace totems for predictions. True, this time the artifacts do not show the future right away. The cards between the missions are interpreted by the witch, who has taken the place of the keeper of stories and the psychoanalyst. At the same time, the mysterious lady will briefly tell about all the finds, but will fully reveal only one future. Choose which one for yourself. Alas, not all cards are equally useful. Some can save a life, while others have no value at all. There are no other gameplay finds in the Quarry. The gameplay remains the same, but this is by no means a minus. Interactive cinema has many connoisseurs, and projects of such a high level are rarely released. For example, the recent Vampire, The Masquerade, Swan Song could not compete with the mastodons of the genre due to its budget and unsightliness. You can find fault with the visuals of the Quarry. Textures sometimes load too slowly, the sun's rays sometimes look like pixelated porridge, and the water, even in LEGO Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga, is better worked out. However, if you close your eyes to minor flaws, the graphics will definitely impress. The Quarry looks like an expensive game. The detailing is cool, the artists did a great job of working the forest, cottages and other locations, and the atmosphere is always on top. Separately, it is worth praising the action episodes, which in terms of visuals, smoothness and staging are not much inferior to high-budget horror films. But the facial animations are uneven. They feel inferior to both the latest Supermassive games and the old Until Dawn. The facial expressions turned out to be too hyperbolic. Sometimes the characters make faces so awkwardly that you want to laugh even in the midst of a tense horror episode. However, most of the animations are still tolerable, and you quickly get used to the problems. By the middle of the game, you no longer pay attention to awkward smirks. Separately, the developers should be praised for the sound. Unlike House of Ashes, the novelty pleases not only with the opening track, the Quarry is full of good music that is worth throwing into the playlist. There are many reasons to find fault with the Quarry, but you don't want to do this. The novelty will not become a masterpiece of the gaming industry, but it is very fun to pass it. If you like old-school horror movies and were looking for good entertainment for a couple of evenings, you won't find a better option.